Hey friends, on today's episode, I'm going to tell you about what it takes to write your own book. Stay tuned. Now, many of you know and have heard, because I've been sharing a little bit about this in my emails, how I've been working on a book. And it looks like we're about to send it to the printer, so it's almost ready. And I started back in May. I wanted to share with you my experience writing a book, just in case any of you are interested in writing your own. So the first thing I would say about writing your book is take the time to brainstorm the overall picture and theme of your book. And so the way I do this, and I talk about it as a strategy in the book actually, is how to brainstorm. And I write down all the ideas of what I want my book to be. And here's another little note that's important. You should write the book that you want to write. Don't be afraid to write it in your own voice. The way I write is a lot like how I talk. I'm very casual. I am not formal at all in my writing, and that's my style. I embrace it, and that's the way I want to write my book, so that's how I do it. So don't be afraid to use your own voice. Don't feel like it has to be like anybody else's book. Make it truly your own by using your own voice in your book. You also want to get some outside help from friends and editors and people that you know that are really good at proofreading. You're going to want to ask them for help, not only on your ideas, but your actual writing. You want to make sure that whatever you're writing makes sense to them, because in your own little world and in your own little mind, you may think it makes sense, but until someone else reads it, they can tell you if it makes sense or not to them. You're definitely going to want to get outside editors that will help you rephrase. Now, I have a friend named Debbie who we used to do workshops together as teachers. She's amazing with words and really good with grammar. And so once I would write a chapter, we would get on the phone together and go through my Word document line by line. She would read it and talk to me about the way I'm phrasing things, if it's making sense to her. These outside editors will make it sound even better than the way you intended. So the second thing I want to say about writing your own book is set a schedule. So I started writing back in May. I took the month of April to really flesh out my ideas, to come up with the right thing that I wanted to write about. And I started beginning of May. I would write Monday through Friday, and I would get up at 5 a.m. in the morning because I write better in the mornings. Now, there are some people who are night owls who would write better at night, other people who write better in the afternoon. For me, unfortunately, it means a really early morning. So it wasn't something I loved, but I set my schedule and I worked from 5 a.m. to about 7 to 7:30 in the morning, every morning, Monday through Friday, that I was home and in town. If I was out of town, I didn't worry about writing at all. Now, another thing was I had set a goal. I wanted to finish the book in 3 months. And I knew if I stuck to my schedule, I felt that I could do it. Well, it took me 3.5, so that wasn't too bad. And that was my first big draft of the book. Of course, there were lots of little changes that happened after that. But the first bulk of the draft happened within 3.5 months of writing the book. Now, that also followed with 3 more months right now of editing and finessing, making sure all the pictures are right, going through the book, does it all make sense, getting some other outside eyes to read it, an official editor to go through it. And so it took another 3 months after I finished writing it to get it just right. Now, because I'm a former writer, I know the process of writing a book. And within the 5 days that I would spend each week writing, I knew that 2 days were going to be pretty bad, pretty awful. I might sit there and not write very much at all. 2 days were going to be kind of mediocre. And 1 day was going to be absolutely amazing. And I'm going to write a whole bunch in that 1 day. And I couldn't tell you each week how these days were going to fall during the week, but I could almost promise every single week this was the process. So when you hit a bump and you don't have a very productive day, don't worry about it. Your brain is still working in the background on this process, and you have to struggle for a couple of days to have 2 kind of mediocre days and have 1 really amazing day that you get a lot written for your book. So you need to set yourself up for some success, which means you need to get to bed early. Like if you're going to get up early in the morning, I was going to bed at 9 o'clock at night. to make sure I got enough sleep so that I was fresh in the morning and I was ready to take on the writing and the task I had for that day. You also need to get exercise. So getting out in nature, taking long walks, having no music, no podcasts, nothing playing, but just have that time to decompress so that your brain can work out the ideas and the thoughts and come up with new creative ideas to add to your book. That is really important as well. So the final stage that I'm in right now is planning the launch of my book, which will happen sometime in 2023. Hopefully in late spring is what I'm planning for. And with this comes all the planning, not just to get the book out and tell everyone about it, but I have to have a web page that tells people about it. I have to have emails. I'm also going to have a book party, and I'm going to be inviting some VIP guests from my followers to come to my house. You're going to get to tour my house, my greenhouse, my studio, see my camper and my car, and we're even probably going to have a cupcake truck and some other fun things. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that information, which I'll be coming out with in the next couple of months. I cannot wait to share my book with all of you, and I hope these little tips on how to write your own book will help you if you have this desire to do it yourself. Until next week, friends, I will see you soon, and let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear it.